tired again.
You're supposed to bring energy.
I was up a half hour ago. Live from an ESG-scented 100% cotton unisex onesie. Ooh, I like that.
Wow.
It's an all-new, terrific Tuesday edition of Business Pants. Joined by Analyst-Hole Matt Moscardi. That's why you're here. You're here for Matt Moscardi. On today's anti-anti-DEI lovefest called December 17th, 2024. Random ESG headlines that I care about because somebody has to care about something. And
Do they?
Changing the methodology for Fortune 100's most powerful executives list or something. That's what Matt's up to. Matt's doing something nerdy.
How come you don't make mine sound that sexy?
Because I ran out of energy. You promised me that we're going to start recording a half hour ago, so I timed my coffee for that, and now I'm already on the downswing.
Well,
That's how
I'm
delicate
sorry
my
to let you
system
down.
is. That's how delicate I am.
I'm a busy guy. I'm busy
I'm glad.
proving that everybody wants to buy accountability from freeflowanalytics.com.
Speaking of which, our show today is being sponsored by freeflowanalytics.com, the only platform measuring board power, connections, and performance for free. And yes, there is very much a free element to all of our data, but of course, there are executive packages available, right, Matt?
Yeah. Well, there's the free data, right?
Yeah.
And then Freeflow Analytics actually. They have like a massive historical data set. They have knowledge. If you're looking at a skills matrix, what century are you from? Like, get the knowledge map that's actually
You're not going to get that for
standardized.
free, though. It's not on the website.
That isn't free. That's all like behind the firewall because it's so large and difficult and unwieldy.
Expert analysis.
But did you see my seamless transition there? Aren't you
No, I don't
impressed
know.
with
I'm
my
not really paying
seamless
attention.
transition?
Yeah,
You're not
true.
impressed?
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's seamlessly transition to the random headlines that you pulled.
What is my music? Oh, it's that.
What should you have your own theme song?
I guess that's it, according to you. I like how it's like something that triggers me, something like oddly patriotic that makes me feel weird, and then it's like it's a raspberry sound, right? It's like
it's a raspberry.
You're really
exactly.
just digging at me. It's what you're doing.
Yeah, the whole thing is kind of a troll. That's right.
Here we go. These are just things that have stuck out to me in the last few days. Just because I don't want to give up talking about Walmart because you know how news works in our world, right? You talk about it for 5 seconds and then it's over. I'm not that kind of guy. I like to hammer things to death.
Okay, good.
Just because the horse is dead doesn't mean I'm going to keep kicking it. I'm going to keep kicking it. I'm going to kick it right in the shin. All four shins. All four shins. So here's the headline that triggered me. Walmart is the 2024 Yahoo Finance Company of the Year. First of all, who knew that Yahoo Finance was giving awards for Company of the Year? Who needs this, first of all? I mean, who asked for this? Who wants this? A committee of Yahoo Finance editorial leaders.
Okay, back up.
Yeah.
Yahoo Finance is editorial leaders.
And they have a committee of them. Selected Walmart because of its strong year of sales and profits, blah, 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 blah. But one of the unknowns they mentioned is the impact of Walmart's November 26th decision to scale back its DEI work amid right-wing pressure, right? So what they're basically saying is that we didn't know this was going to happen. We picked them before this.
Oh, really? Okay.
In fact, they called Walmart's chief people officer, Donna Morris, to weigh in on this decision. They called her in early December. And she said, she defended the company's choice to roll back DEI, saying, "We are the exact same company today as we were last week, and we will continue to be the same company."
Oh.
Which is not, okay, I'm going to just start here. Not technically true, right?
Also,
right? You can't roll back all those initiatives, stop funding Pride parades. Or go ahead.
No. Wait a minute.
Yes.
It is technically true. Walmart is a dual-class company owned by the Walton family.
That part is true.
And the Walton family retains control. They still retained control.
Oh, that's true.
The company is still a fake public company.
That's
it's not
so
really
true.
public. It's
So
fake
true.
public. She is not lying. They are the exact same company. They just don't do the exact same things they did last week.
I wasn't even going to get into that, Yahoo Finance, but your leaders, your committee of editorial leaders, you really should not be picking a company where the shareholders have absolutely no say over anything.
Right. Yeah.
It's not a good company. It's not a balanced company.
But it didn't say it was the public company of the year. It said it was the company of the year.
That's the implication. She also said, we act with integrity. We strive for excellence. There's that excellence word again. That excellence, I don't know where did that come from? Vivek Ramaswamy? Who started this excellence campaign?
It didn't exist before Vivek.
This weird excellence thing, which is code for white people, I guess, right? It's code for what is right? Because excellence is the synonym of the meritocracy, and the meritocracy is code for you're only hiring women and people of color, not because they're excellent, but because there's some kind of mandate to hire them, right?
Yeah.
That's where we got into this weird thing. She said, our values are absolutely not changing. The specific initiatives or terms, they change over time. So she's just saying, things change. Yeah,
I kind of agree with this.
Okay,
because
go ahead. You're allowed.
If you rolled back your DEI claims, right, like I would say that the claims were disingenuous in the first place. Your values actually haven't changed. Actually, now you're showing us your real values.
Your real values. Okay.
Yeah, right? Isn't that true?
So you're playing chess with this statement. She also said this. I love this part. When you talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, all in part, there can be communities, and often the largest communities, that step back and say, geez, I'm not sure if I'm even actually included, she said. She actually said this.
Oh, wait.
I think what she's saying, the largest community is that the white male straight community?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, she just said that when you talk about DEI, we left out the white people.
But
that's
why?
What she said.
But part of DEI is just equity and inclusion in general. So why does that leave out white people? I don't feel left out of that. In fact, I feel very much included, right? I don't understand. Help me out here.
Let's discuss. Maybe we need to backtrack a bit and discuss what inclusion actually means. Because the thing you're trying to get included in is basically you want to make as much money as white men do, right? Like on a per dollar basis,
I want that
for the same job.
I like that idea. Yeah.
You would like to own have like ownership the way white men have ownership, right?
Yeah,
like for instance, right?
Yeah, that's something I want to be included in.
I think even at the lowest possible level, you want to walk into a room and feel like you can raise your hand and say something and be included in the conversation and not excluded, because white men are included in the conversation. They usually run it, and like no one else does. So which is the part where the white people are looking around being like, I'm not sure if I'm actually included here because you said something about a black woman that time.
Matt, you're clearly way more intelligent than me, because all I can think about with DEI is that I'm happy that I don't have to walk into a room that is just straight white men, because it's just so awkward, right? It's just, you're either talking about sports or maybe the weather or maybe some derogatory like statement about somebody else that's not in the room. It's awkward for me. So that's how I look at DEI. It's an easier conversation. I can
bro out with the best of them. I can do that.
But still, in a room of 20 people, you only need like 4 or 5 bros. You need 20 bros? Isn't that exhausting?
How dare you exclude the other 19 bros?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure DEI was not about excluding those bros. But she also said, so after Floyd's murder, a majority of companies felt the needs to boost their DEI efforts, but now they are reevaluating. And then she said, what we observed and felt was really important is that everyone was part of that work, and that's why we really made the shift. So she's saying what was important was getting away from caring about George Floyd's murder, right? That was the shift she's talking about. And again, this happened like 4 years ago, so I'm glad that I didn't know she was first of all, I didn't know she was this great social scientist. Like I'm impressed. She's like this great anthropologist of our times, that she's noticing the shifts in our culture. It's very important work she's doing there.
I'm not going to call into question her sociology degree, or her years spent in social service.
Yeah, studying the electorate.
Really, what I want to know is when she says everyone.
Yeah.
Does she mean just the employees at Walmart, or does she also extend that to mean the 7 customers in the conservative United States who said, "I will never shop here again because you once funded one gay pride parade flag," right? That time. Is she saying that what we observed and what was really important is that everyone, including our customers, they need to be part of this, and because some of our customers were not, we made that shift? Isn't that what she's saying? That's what she's saying.
Yeah, but
blah blah blah.
The odd thing is that the hourly worker at Walmart, which is the large majority of the people at Walmart who work at Walmart, it's a majority people of color. Just so we're clear.
Yeah. They also make the least money.
Right. They're not the majority, but they're by far not the majority of management or officers or C-suite members. But I'm just saying, I don't really know who she's talking about because technically the majority employees are part of. I don't know. I'm lost. So, and the reason why I bring that up is another reason is I just want to repeat the words of Doug McMillon, the CEO of Walmart.
Oh, I love this.
I'm probably going to be repeating these again in future shows. So,
are you ready?
Yeah. So he said, after the murder of George Floyd, he had a warning for corporate America. The death of Floyd triggered a wave of protest over systemic racism. It was not an isolated event, quote. We have a long history of racism and we see unacceptable events continue. They made a pledge to addressing inequities within their business. Says that they feared that these pledges would be dropped once the focus on Floyd's killing and its aftermath faded. He said, quote, "We can't let that be the case." He wrote outlining how the company was releasing its diversity metrics twice a year and calling on companies to, quote, "continue to address systemic racism and structural inequities that are rooted in this nation's history of slavery and that persist today." So those are very strong words. As a Black Studies minor, yes, a Black Studies minor, and when I went to college, even some of the professors and students didn't so eloquently capture the idea of systemic racism in our country. But Doug McMillon, CEO of Walmart, did only 4 years ago.
I love that they feared that the focus on DEI would be dropped, and he won't let that be the case. Finally.
So just to be clear, here's what Walmart's doing. They're going to stop using the term DEI altogether. They're going to stop DEI trainings. They're no longer consider race and gender as a means to improve diversity. That
last one's great.
And they're not renewing a racial equity center committed to addressing the root causes of gaps and outcomes experienced by Black and African American people. That
sounds a lot like dropping the focus on DEI. It sounds a lot like that. Maybe I'm missing something.
So the question is this year is that will there be so there has been a racial equity shareholder proposal over the last 2 years. It got 18% support in 2023 and 15% in 2024. And according to this article, that it would need 20% for Walmart to discuss it. I've never heard of this. There's a threshold of percentage where companies discuss the proposal. Is that a Walmart
they won't even
thing?
Discuss it?
I'm surprised by that, right? Because 18% of support. You mentioned before that the Walton family controls a considerable amount of voting power there. So 18% support is actually quite high. No, I mean for non-Walton shareholders.
I just like the arbitrary nature of the
I've
number.
Never heard of this.
We won't discuss it unless we get to 20%. It's not even worth discussing.
I think they might get to that 20% this year. I think that there will be shareholders
that sounds like a prediction. Ooh, that sounds like a prediction.
All right, let's move off Walmart. So that was from Yahoo Finance. Now, Fast Company is taking the exact opposite approach from Yahoo Finance. They have named Tarang Amin, the CEO of E.L.F. Beauty, as their modern CEO of the year.
Oh, wow. Wait, modern CEO of the year?
Well, that's just their term. Part of the reason for this is its proclaimed commitment to diversity. And they mentioned specifically E.L.F. Beauty's program called Change the Board Game, a campaign to encourage corporate board diversity. So 78% of the board at E.L.F. Beauty is women. Unfortunately, the board really is controlled by Tarang Amin, though. He's the founder of the company, so he controls most of the influence.
47% of the influence on the board is
true.
him.
But still, I have to give the company credit. They also came up with the campaign this year called "So Many Dicks," referring to the amount of people named, the amount of directors named dicks on U.S. public company boards. They also sponsored 20 diverse candidates for a National Association of Corporate Directors program for boardroom readiness. So they're trying to get people of color and women onto boards by actually doing something, Matt, not just having a DEI statement.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Anyway.
And Tarang was on the Fortune's 100 most powerful people in business list, and so was one of the Waltons, if not Rob.
And Doug McMillon,
Doug McMillon was. Yeah, Doug McMillon was. That's right.
All right. Moving on. How about this one? I haven't seen this one before. This is the headline. Union Coalition calls for Kroger CEO's removal amid buyback controversy.
Wow, somebody's paying attention to a buyback.
Right. So they're angry. This is the United Food and Commercial Workers Union. They are angry after the merger with Albertsons fell apart, and Kroger's reaction to that merger failure was to announce a $7.5 billion stock buyback.
Unbelievable.
And this union was smart enough to tie it to the CEO. There you go, right? I mean, that's easy, right? We're actually tying it to an actual executive, an actual person responsible for the decision. But they could also tie it to the board, right?
Yeah, they should tie it to the board.
Yeah.
The board has to approve a buyback, period. End of story. There's no other way.
But I think this is the first time we've seen any reaction to a buyback like this that I can remember.
Not only can I not remember it, but it is arguably the best timing and way to attack them, because they're sitting on this cash as part of the expected merger that falls through, right? I'm sure that's part of this.
Yeah.
And rather than saying, we're going to invest in innovation at our stores and compete better, we're going to invest in our people, who I'm sure haven't gotten any money, they're literally just going to hand it back to investors, and one of whom is the CEO, and call it a day. Kroger's actually down on the news, right? Today they're down almost 2%. So I'm not sure it worked. Did it work? They're up, they're up for the year, and they're up over the last 6 months, 1 month. But I'm not sure investors love a $7.5 billion buyback, given that if everyone goes on strike, that's not a great buyback.
I'll say this to the union, to the United Food and Commercial Workers Union, they should also they're targeting the CEO, who is William Rodney McMillon. They should also target Ronald Sargent, who has 22% of board influence.
Oh, I like that.
Combined, those two men control over half of all the board influence
there
at
it is.
Kroger. Sargent is the former CEO at Staples and used to actually have be an executive at Kroger. So,
oh, good.
Yeah, he's
Staples is something synonymous with success.
How about this out of Starbucks? Starbucks they're doubling parental leave. So paid leave for birth mothers is increasing from 6 to 18 weeks. All other non-birth parents will receive up to 12 weeks of paid leave at 100% of average pay. How about that?
That's good news.
It is, but doesn't this seem kind of like DEI-ish? Isn't this benefiting women?
Yeah, this is definitely DEI-ish, but
birth mothers 6 to 18 weeks.
I'm not going to be mad at it. Like, also, he had to Brian Nichol, who is Starbucks CEO, whose name is not in the headline. Brian Nichol did this, and the new CEO. he sort of might have had to throw a bone to people, given the fact that he doesn't live in Seattle and he's like commuting from Los Angeles every once in a while.
Yeah. Not only that, but
everyone else had to go back to the office.
Not only that, but the baristas of Starbucks are continuing like unionization efforts across the country. So a store just near me just voted to unionize. So he is going to have to throw some bones to the workers.
I'm okay
at Starbucks.
with this. This is good. This is nice.
How about this story? Former open. We have seen a lot of like whistleblower types die this year, right? It started at Boeing, where like 17 whistleblowers died.
Yeah, I don't like this.
Here's the headline: Former OpenAI employee who died by suicide was named in a court case that could decide the future of the internet. That's the headline.
Oh my goodness!
It's a hyperbolic headline, no? So
no joke.
8 days before the former OpenAI researcher Sushir Balaji was found dead in his San Francisco apartment, his name appeared in a lawsuit against his former employer, OpenAI. This is a lawsuit brought by the New York Times, which accused OpenAI of basically stealing millions of articles published by the newspaper without permission to train its ChatGPT. So this is a...
I mean, look, not to bring everything back to the NEO murder at United Healthcare, it does seem like there is like a divergence between like the capital, like the money at OpenAI and like the pressures, and like the individual, like little guy, like one researcher sees something wrong, says it, and then there's so much pressure, but so much money backing that pressure that you feel compelled, you feel like you have no way out. It feels vaguely parallel to Luigi Mangione.
The attorneys for the New York Times claimed that he was someone with, quote, unique and relevant documents that could support their copyright infringement case against OpenAI. I've admitted in the past that it's these cases, where whistleblowers are dying, and the when executives themselves die, like the CEO of Enron crashing into a wall.
Yeah,
these are the only times I put on my conspiratorial hat, and I wonder what's really going on. I mean, you're right. I'm sure it is a lot of pressure to testify against his former company, but this strikes me as being a bit odd. That's all I'm going to say. A bit odd.
I don't like this story. Let's go on.
Oh, good. We'll go right back to the NEO murder stuff.
And good.
That's the United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson, who was a named executive officer at United Health Group. How about this headline from Newsweek, of all sources? In armed America, CEOs get protection. School kids get thoughts and prayers.
Oh, wow. That is a fabulous juxtaposition.
So this is a direct comment about I guess there was another school shooting yesterday somewhere in the Midwest. Yeah. And again, there's an outpouring of thoughts and prayers for those children. And yet, as we covered over the last 2 weeks, the reaction about the murder of Brian Thompson was a huge increase in security costs to protect the executives who may or may not be targeted. We don't even know if they are being targeted. But
I predicted already.
Yeah.
That now the executives would push for gun control. Right. That was my. I said this assassination is actually good for gun control.
Okay.
Because all of a sudden, the people with the most money are likely to flip and say, okay, we can't have people killing us. It was fine was like school kids, but not us. I think it's possible you won't see them flip for real until someone with a full corporate security like armada is shot. Right? Like because frankly, having like 3 dudes walk next to you does not mean you can't be killed if everyone has an AK-47 in this country, right? Like,
yeah.
And it's bananas that we have to have, I mean, since Columbine, hundreds of school shootings in this country? And one executive gets shot, and my guess is we end in a place where there's gun control on some form of gun control, because the capitalists get shot.
In a related article, here's the headline: Peter Thiel reveals how scared oligarchs are of the people. So he had an interview with Piers Morgan yesterday, and they were talking about the murder of Brian Thompson. When asked basically what he thought about the article says that he paused for a long time, and then he stuttered for a long time, and then eventually got out the words, quote, I don't know what to say. I still think you should try to make an argument, and I think this is you should, there may be things going wrong with our healthcare system, but you have to make an argument, and you have to try to find a way to convince people and change it by that. And this is not going to work, end quote.
What?
Right?
What?
Yeah. I think I'm reading that quote verbatim. And again, this is the answer to the question. The question was, and to those who think this shooter is a hero because he did it because he said this is healthcare executive is presiding over a healthcare system which kills thousands of Americans by denying them cover, what would you say to them? That was his response to that. What would you say to those people who think he's a hero? But, to your point, you might be right. This might be an opportunity for actual gun control, because if the executives and the oligarchs are starting to get word and they're stuttering through interviews, they don't know how to respond to the vitriol and anger, then you're right. Maybe this will actually have an effect because yes, like Mark Zuckerberg, you can spend $25 million a year to protect yourself, but it's not going to stop you from, yeah, you're right, from a gun that shoots like 1,000 rounds in a second, right? I mean,
can't stop everything.
Yeah.
Like that's why they say the argument to put like armed guards at schools is the most asinine argument you can think of, because that doesn't stop the shooters. If someone wants to kill you, they probably can in this country. This country is unique in that respect.
Yeah, unless you get rid of some guns.
Or
make them harder people to get the guns. Yeah.
And the Luigi had a ghost gun.
That's
manufactured
another
it. Like now we're past the pale. Now it's like, like we've gone so far. It's only in this country. This is special. America is special.
All right, let's end on this. Another special headline, and then I'll hand it over to you. Here's the headline: Socialist fashion brand to launch most wanted CEO's playing cards in wake of Brian Thompson murder.
Oh, I don't like that at all. I mean, I'll say this.
Yeah.
We actually talked about creating baseball cards of directors,
but not with most wanted labels. They're just going to have their stats on the back,
this is
their
not
salaries.
What we had in mind. We were not, like this is an extreme level, right?
Yes. So here's the only reason I actually cited this article, because I was fascinated by just the many mistakes that were made about how. So we talked. We're probably the only ones who focused in on this one key fact about the murder of Brian Thompson, was that everyone calls him a CEO, and yes, he's the CEO of a subsidiary, but he's not the CEO of United Health Group. That's not what he is. Right? There's actually a man named Sir Andrew Whitty who's the CEO of that company.
You added the Sir, yeah.
But everyone's just confused in general who runs what, and so I wanted a key. So I looked at the website. I looked at. I wanted to see who these playing cards were about, right? And they don't really tell you that. I don't think they've actually produced this series yet in full, because they're in pre-order phase, but they did have some pictures of the cards they have created, and I want to go over some of them. So one of them is Gail Boudreaux. She's the CEO. They
on
say
the Fortune 100 list.
They say that she's of Anthem Insurance, right? But actually, she's not at Anthem Insurance. She's technically the CEO of Elevance Health, because Anthem doesn't exist anymore. So there's your first mistake. There's your first mistake. And she's the Three of Hearts for some reason. Richard Sackler of Purdue Farmer. He's the Jack of Clubs. Now, Purdue Farmer doesn't actually exist anymore.
Oh.
So it's kind of an odd one, right? How about this one? Howard Schultz. We talk about Howard Schultz all the time, the founder and former CEO of Starbucks. First of all, they called it Starbuck, not Starbucks.
Oh, really? Oh.
And I don't know if that's a nod to Robbie Starbuck or not, but he's not even really there anymore. He is the chair emeritus. He's still
yeah.
But he's not really the CEO. He's not the actual chair.
No, but but
it's a hard one.
The board told him he had access to the board whenever he wanted it.
Look, I'm just calling out the oddity of trying to be an ESG analyst.
He doesn't work at Starbucks. He works at Starbucks.
How about this one? They had Elon Musk, but they said that he was from Twitter.
Oh, see, when did they make this set? 3 years ago, and they're just selling it now?
So there is no Twitter anymore, and yes, he is the owner of X, formerly known as Twitter, so I'll give them credit, but he's not technically the CEO, but I'll give them Elon Musk. How about this one? This is, I think, the only one they really got right. Kathy Warden of Northrop Grumman, she is the CEO and chair. They have Jeff Bezos of Amazon. I'm fine with. He controls 67% of board influence, but not technically the CEO. And then finally they have the Waltons, the family, the Sacklers, the Koch brothers, and they also have the Murdochs, featuring Rupert and all 4 kids. So anyway,
okay.
I had to report on this. I had to do
Look, I'm not advocating a most wanted CEOs list of any kind.
No.
But you're getting lazy when you list the Waltons, the Kochs, the Murdochs. First of all, most of them are not CEOs.
No.
Like the Waltons are not CEOs. They founded the company. They haven't been CEOs in a really long time. They own the shares. And they have the voting power. The Murdochs, there's only one CEO. It's like, and then there's the family. We're getting a bit lazy, aren't we?
Well, this is the only reason why I included this. This is one of the main missions of our company is to try to elevate the conversation so that people actually know the names of people running these companies.
Which is a dangerous mission now. But tell me, 2 years ago when we built this thing, nobody knew the names of anybody. Now everybody's using it as a hit list.
So let's not say everybody.
That's not the point. That's not
I'm not
the
advocating violence here. It is a confusing world, though. I saw there just today. I tagged an article about some idiot who's doing an anti-ESG, anti-DEI ETF, investment fund, right?
Oh, good.
And he's all about the meritocracy. He's a 29-year-old college dropout who hasn't really achieved much, and this is his big thing, right? His big thing is excellence. In the mode of Vivek Ramaswamy, this is his thing. And one of the people that he loves is Brian Nichols. He loves Brian Nichols, the new CEO of Starbucks, but he hated Laxman Narasimhan. Because he's a person of color, he was a DEI hire, not excellent, despite the fact that he was a CEO at Reckitt and also came from, he was a chief commercial officer at Pepsi. Clearly, he had a impressive track record.
That doesn't matter.
Right.
Don't you understand? He's brownish.
But I'm just trying to tell you how complicated even talking about ESG matters is, because we can be angry at Howard Schultz, but we love Brian Nichols, who's the new CEO.
Look,
it's confusing, right? That's all I'm trying to say. Yeah.
These, the difference between, Robbie Starbuck is successful because he's one of the best ESG analysts out there. That he is going company by company. He's looking through their policies. He's looking through the lists. He's gathering the data. He's actually finding weaknesses. That's just ESG analysis. He's doing analysis, right? It sounds like this kid is just basically like, that guy was brown. We're not gonna. He's out.
Right.
And you got to get better. You got to get better.
Despite the experience, CEO at Reckitt and C-suite of Pepsi, he's not qualified.
That doesn't matter.
All right. And by the way, before we move on, I screwed up. It's Brian Nichols. It's not Brian Nichols. I kept saying Nichols.
Nickel.
Okay.
Yeah, I said Nickel. I got it right.
I'm from New England. I put an S on everything. I don't know why I do that. All right,
Nichols.
go ahead. I'm gonna hand this off.
All right.
Whew, I can't talk today. It's a train wreck. I'm stuttering. I'm tongue-tied. I'm twisted. You can bail me out here. Save
You're
me.
Peter Thieling your way through your segment.
I can't talk today.
Look, I'm going to segue, since we're talking about so many powerful people.
Yeah.
We talked last week about the Fortune 100 most powerful people in business
Did we ever?
list, and we talked about it for a long time. Just to remind anyone who didn't hear it, the methodology for that list. So they chose 100 people that were the most powerful business people on earth. It was global. It was not local. They used size of the business, health of the business, innovation, which was totally kind of subjective. Like, have you made something that's innovative? Because you could say that like a chicken nugget is the most innovative thing to get people to eat more fatty chicken than anything else, right? Like, isn't that? But I don't like. There's no clear guidelines of what an innovation is. They used influence, which they didn't specify, but we guessed was maybe social media following or like something like that. Political.
Well, they didn't actually use influence because they should have reached out to us. We actually have influence.
We actually have that number, right? They used trajectory, which was where they were in the arc of their career,
their age.
Which was really difficult to parse because they had Warren Buffett on there, but they also had like the young guy who started like,
Warren Buffett is currently what, 95, 94? But even when he was 79, he was still powerful. So what does age have to do with it?
Where was he in the arc of his career 20 years ago?
I don't know.
And then they had impact, which said, and I quote, "Do they work to make the world a better place?"
Well,
which was largely a joke for most of the
means.
people. Like that was largely a joke. So this week, what I wanted to do is propose a new methodology. So I'm still refining this.
Yeah.
But I want to put some real numbers behind this because my goal is to put out a list at the beginning of the year of the true 100 most powerful people in business.
According to us.
According to data. Experts, this isn't like us making it up. This is like I'm using only data, right?
Yeah, because I'm going to remind people that one of the people on that list was the incoming CEO at Red Lobster.
Yes, right.
Who just started at a franchise that nobody liked in the first place. So I don't know how.
Like 32 years old. So where in the
100 most powerful executives in the world.
And is he working to make the world a better place, or is he working to serve you more lobster?
He just took over in August.
Yeah, it's real hard to say.
So how do we even know? Yeah.
So I'm gonna for this, I'm gonna quickly go through my suggested data points for the methodology. Okay. I'm gonna use their methodology framework, but use our data points. Size of the business. Now, you can't just say because the business is big, they're influential, right? Like you could.
You could.
But it's a little simplistic because what it does is it ignores the fact that there are people who sit on boards of these companies that sit on 10, 20 boards that are all like large cap companies, not necessarily the largest. They have massive networks of connected individuals and they hold sway over them.
Because let's not forget that like, let's take Tim Cook as an example, right? Yes, he's a powerful man because he's the CEO of Apple, but he's also a director at Nike, which increases his power and influence, right? You can't overlook that.
But not to mention the fact that size of the business, basically, like on the list was basically only executives at the business for the most part. I think it was almost all executives at a company, which suggests that they don't have a boss, but they do have a boss. The board is their boss, right?
Yeah.
And they usually sit on the board. Mm-hmm. So here's what I did. I suggested we use not just the size of the company, but their influence on the company times the market capitalization.
Yeah, you have to consider influence.
So how powerful they are inside of the company, right? Like how much they actually control because they have a board, they have bosses, and how powerful is their network? I don't want to just find 100 dudes who are like, you're going to have a massive dude skew if you're just looking at executives of companies that are large. That's mostly dudes, right? Like it's, so let's do who's actually well networked also. So that was edit number 1. Okay. Mm-hmm. When I do edit number 1, I get a totally different list. I've already run some of the numbers. I'm still like refining it. But so far, I'm getting a totally different list, as in Elon Musk isn't even in the top 100.
Well, because he's technically only involved with one publicly traded company. Is that
one
the reason
publicly
why?
Traded company. He owns a lot of influence in it. It's one of the largest companies. Like he's second to Jensen Huang in terms of only
because it's a meme stock at this point.
But the fact is, none of them have like massive networks of individuals on other company boards. They're just powerful executives. They know all these other people.
Well, that's Elon's fault, right? Because his board at Tesla is basically his buddies and his brothers.
But he just chose buddies, right?
So like, they don't really exist at other places as much as other boards. Yeah.
So
like the Disney board, for instance, is full of all-stars that are CEOs everywhere, right? But Elon just has like his buddy Kimball, his brother.
So that's number one. Number two, health of the business. They chose liquidity. Mm-hmm. They chose is the business liquid?
Yeah.
First of all, they had Carlos Tavares on a list where he got fired because the company wasn't doing well.
He was number 62.
I made this simple.
Mm-hmm.
Health of the business is just their performance batting average, earnings, and TSR. So on Free Flow Analytics, every single director and executive on our board gets like an earnings batting average and a TSR batting average that's relative to everybody else in their sector globally, right? Because I don't want to say you should outperform. Like if you're a powerful person, you should be outperforming. You shouldn't stink at your job. That's so we're going to start with that as health of the business.
Makes sense to me.
Number 3, innovation. I am scrapping innovation entirely. I'm scrapping innovation.
First of all, you can't define it. So
it is totally undefinable. There's not a business. There's not a data point for innovation. That you and I couldn't argue ad nauseum. That doesn't make sense. Number 3, influence. I'm using our influence numbers.
Sure.
I'm not just using them in one place. I'm saying what is your total influence across every board that you've ever been on? What's the max influence at any one company you've ever had? I want to actually know, are you influential everywhere you go? Have you been on other boards? If not, are you just like the big dog on your board? Because some of the people on that list are actually second in influence. We talked about the fact that Sundar Pichai is number 8 on the list. Mm-hmm. And Sergey and Larry Brin are number 20. They own all the influence at Alphabet. They're the dual class owners. It makes no sense. So use the real influence numbers.
Yeah.
Number 4. Technically number 5, unless I'm scrapping innovation, in which case number 4. Trajectory. Career arc trajectory doesn't make any sense.
How do you do this one? Yeah.
I'm using total aggregate tenure across any company board they've ever been on.
Oh, across any public company board.
Any public company board. Add
total
up
aggregate tenure.
Boards.
Okay. How do you decipher that? Yeah.
So if you're on one company for 10 years, on the board for 10 years, you're the CEO of another company, you've been on the board for 20 years, that's 30 years of aggregate tenure. So you can actually have directors or executives who have 100 years of aggregate tenure. And that just means trajectory is you have been exposed to a lot of things or had a lot of time to think about what it means to have power and be powerful. Let's just say that.
I mean, I think that makes more sense because, again, trajectory, you can't really define it, especially when their number 4 choice is a 95-year-old man. I mean, what is the trajectory there? That he's the number 4. I don't really understand that one, right?
He's finally taking off. That's
no offense to Warren Buffett. I just don't really understand it. Yeah.
And then finally, are you making the world a better place? Impact.
Oh, good luck with this one.
This one was easy for me.
Yeah.
Free Flow Analytics does a controversies batting average.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
So all I need to do is take the controversies batting average, because if you're making the world a better place, one of the things we shouldn't see is a plethora of controversies about how your company's dumping shit in the ocean, screwing over its employees, busting unions,
giving teenage girls eating disorders,
flipping on DEI, giving your data to Russian oligarchs.
Those things do not make the world a better place.
They do not.
They might generate more profit or higher stock returns, but they do not make the world a better place.
It is not about bettering the world. So next time we come back, and we're going to be off. I think we're going to we have a show on Friday, but we're going to be off for some of next week. Next time we come back for the beginning of next year,
you're teasing a list.
I am teasing a complete list
of
the 100. Do you like a tease? A good tease?
Sure.
Fabulous way to end the show. The 100 most the actual 100 most powerful people in business.
I'm excited for this. I wonder where's Mary Barra going to land, I wonder.
Not on the list.
Oh.
That's all we got. That's Hazelnut Rawlis. I am your Analyst-Hole Matt Moscardi. We are Free Float. Come back on Friday. We're going to wrap up the week. And after that, it's holiday season. So we'll be spotty for holidays, but we'll be around if you need anything. Otherwise, until later, goodbye.